Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a massive, multi-million-dollar industry that basically operates entirely in the shadows. We're looking at the illicit, hyper-organized business built around the European migration crisis. You see, when nearly 1 million desperate people start moving across borders, an entire shadow economy springs up out of nowhere just to monetize their journey. From fake safety gear to actual extortion rings, we're going to break down exactly how this clandestine market works.
And just to give you an idea of the staggering amount of money we're talking about here, according to the source investigations, a single Albanian smuggler boss is reported to earn up to 1 million euros a month from this illicit trade. Seriously, 1 million euros a month. So we aren't just talking about a handful of opportunistic criminals. This is a scaled, corporate-level enterprise that's literally profiting off of human desperation.
Okay, so here's our agenda for today. We're going to break down the mafia's business model step by step, starting with the human smuggling boom, then counterfeit safety, the illicit passport industry, the treacherous Balkan route, and finally, how they're profiting from closed borders.
All right, Section 1, the human smuggling boom, scaling a covert industry.
Think about it. When nearly 1 million people enter Europe in a single year, it creates an absolute goldmine of a market for smugglers. Mafias from all over the world rushed in to grab a piece of the pie, turning human transit into a high-volume, incredibly organized business. Let me introduce you to Mohamed. He operates out of Istanbul. This Syrian smuggler claims to be a former cardiologist who actually turned to human trafficking after his own really harrowing attempts to reach Greece. He's now wanted by Interpol. But before border crackdowns intensified, Mohamed was processing up to 200 people a day. As he puts it, "I earned $1 million in that year. I have helped more than 50,000 people." He runs what's essentially a human beehive, cramming up to 25 people into tiny 40-square-meter apartments before they finally take to the sea.
It's wild because this whole journey has been completely commodified, like it has specific price tags. A minimum boat crossing from Turkey to Greece, that costs about 750 euros. But here's the kicker. If you have a good appearance, if you look like you can afford a bit more, the smugglers instantly hike the price up to 1,000 euros. To them, any money is good money. And it's not just the illegal crossings. Over on the Greek island of Lesbos, legitimate-looking travel agencies have completely tripled in number. They sell boat and bus packages for 90 to 150 euros to funnel migrants further into Europe, and it's all paid in cash.
Moving on to Section 2, counterfeit safety and fake vests, selling the illusion of security. So as this smuggling boom grew, secondary industries started popping up just to squeeze even more money out of these travelers. And honestly, the most insidious of these is the deadly trade in counterfeit safety gear. The smugglers force migrants to buy life jackets for the super dangerous GNC crossing, but what they're actually selling them is a total death trap. Think about the contrast here. A genuine life jacket costs around 30 euros. It's filled with silicone, and it can keep you afloat for up to 40 hours. But the fake ones, they sell for 8 to 10 euros, and they're filled with 4 layers of a cheap, lightweight, sponge-like plastic. It literally absorbs water, so you float for maybe a few minutes before the vest actually pulls you under. In a single month, 410 people drowned making this crossing. That included an average of 2 children a day. And these fake vests are a massive contributor to that tragedy. Now, this stark reality begs a pretty dark question. Who exactly is manufacturing these deadly fake vests? Like, who is willingly producing equipment they absolutely know will fail in open water? While the sources reveal that former textile factories in Turkey have been covertly converted into counterfeit workshops. They're run by totally inexperienced staff operating completely under the radar. They basically cut cheap foam, fold it into the vest linings, and, get this, they even stamp them with fraudulent European CE safety labels just to make them look legitimate. They are literally selling the illusion of security to desperate families, all just to make an €8 profit. Okay, Section 3, the illicit passport industry, forging identities for $2,000. Let's take a look at how these forgers actually operate, because they aren't just printing fakes from scratch to sneak past border checkpoints. No, they are creating what you'd call genuine fakes. Step 1. Armed groups, like the Free Syrian Army or ISIS, seize administrative centers and steal massive quantities of genuine blank passport stubs. Step 2. Smugglers buy these blank stubs and fill in custom client information and photos based on whoever's ponying up the $2,000 fee. Then Step 3. They use specialized machines to apply newly forged administrative stamps and transparent holographic logos. Because the paper itself is authentic,
These passports are nearly impossible to detect.
And the sheer scale of this stolen document black market is just breathtaking. We're talking 200,000 official Iraqi passports reported stolen, 9,000 Syrian passports. But it's not even just Middle Eastern documents. They discovered 124 blank French passports right in Istanbul. Smugglers actually brag about shipping blank Czech and Danish passports to hubs like Hungary just to be filled out with client details. This pipeline allows economic migrants to completely bypass the system, and notoriously, it's what allowed two of the November 13 Paris attackers to travel using fake Syrian documents.
So, who's standing between this highly sophisticated forgery ring and the rest of Europe? Well, mostly just completely overwhelmed border police. Down at the Macedonian border, authorities are catching roughly 60 fake documents every 8 hours. But here is the truly shocking part. They're often doing this visual inspection with nothing more than a simple magnifying glass. I mean, they completely lack the immediate biometric databases or fingerprint scanners they'd actually need to process thousands of people a day. It makes it incredibly difficult to stop a well-crafted, genuine fake.
All right, Section 4, the treacherous Balkan route, extortion and kidnapping.
You see, once these migrants hit land, the sea smugglers are quickly replaced by land mafias that are totally driven by extortion. Take the story of Karim, for example. He's a 25-year-old Moroccan migrant. While he was traveling through Macedonia, his group offered food to two guys who were posing as migrants, but it was a trap. The men made a quick phone call, armed men showed up in a car, and Karim was kidnapped. He was locked in a house, beaten with swords, and others with him were actually electrocuted. His captors forced him to call his family, and to save his life, his family had to pull together exactly $1,300 to pay his ransom.
The crazy thing is, Karim's story is absolutely not an isolated incident. Kidnapping has basically become a localized industry in these border villages. The sources detail something called the Alibaba network. This was a dismantled mafia ring operating in a tiny Macedonian village of just 2,500 people. They held 128 migrants in boarded-up houses, demanding 500 to 1,000 euros for their release. And what's truly alarming here is that local smugglers openly admit that the mafia just pays off the local police to turn a blind eye during roadside checks.
And honestly, even if you manage to avoid being kidnapped, you still get extorted by the transport mafia. Let's say migrants want to take the official Serbian train to the Croatian border. It costs just 15 euros, which is great, but the tickets are severely limited and they sell out instantly. That leaves families stranded out in freezing temperatures. Enter the transport mafia. They've got a fleet of up to 300 buses just waiting on the edge of town, and they charge 35 euros, more than double the official price, just capitalizing on the desperate overflow. One driver even noted that during peak season, a single bus generated 15,000 to 20,000 euros for his boss in just a month and a half.
And that brings us to Section 5, profiting from closed borders, the business of walls.
We really need to look at the political response to this crisis, and especially its unintended consequences. In response to this massive influx of people, policies shifted pretty drastically. Europe reached an agreement to send illegal arrivals who land in Greece right back to Turkey. Meanwhile, countries along the Balkan route like Macedonia decided to just completely close their borders, erecting these massive double barbed wire walls to physically block passage.
And this brings us to a really critical realization, and honestly, the final question I want to leave you with today. As Europe builds more walls, who truly profits from the closed borders? The incredible paradox of this whole situation is that every new bureaucratic hurdle and every new physical barrier doesn't actually stop the migration, it simply makes it more difficult. And you know what happens when it's more difficult? The price goes up. Every closed border is just a brand new, highly profitable business opportunity for the smuggling mafias. It's a pretty sobering thought to take away from this explainer. Thanks so much for joining me as we follow the money through the shadow economy. I'll catch you next time.